Welcome back to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I am your host, Juliarene.
I am Kendall Graboff.
And we are here today with a super special guest. Not only is she my friend, and she and I went through a life-changing experience together, which was the retreat that we were talking about in a previous episode with Liv, but she is also a vegan coach and obviously a vegan herself, and she helps women transform into the vegan lifestyle, which I feel like would be very difficult at first. So we're going to learn a lot about Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi. Welcome to the pod.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. I'm so excited to have you, especially someone who is vegan, and I've seen her, the way that she lives her life, and I just admire it so much because she literally brings, like, she's like a bodybuilder in a way. Like, she brings her meals everywhere she goes because she's like, I don't know what's going to be there, so I'm going to bring my stuff.
Being a vegan is just as big, if not more of a commitment than the diet plans we have to follow.
100%.
Like, just as like clean, restrictive, and like you can't touch certain foods, and yeah.
Especially if you go like as hard at it as you can. Like, some people go as far as, I think, vegan
like
products,
raw vegans,
like everything
even,
like
yeah.
that. But we'll kind of get into that a little bit more later. But I would love it if you would share your story, kind of where you started and how you got to be the amazing human you are today.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess when it comes to veganism, I stopped eating meat when I was 9 years old.
That's so young.
What? Okay, and how old are you now?
I'm 23. I'm going to be 24 next month.
Happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
We're going to be in
9 years
Miami
old.
for my birthday.
We are going to be in Miami for your birthday. I can't wait.
But yeah, nobody else in my family was vegan or vegetarian or anything. One day I was literally like, I don't understand why we eat animals. And I told my mom, and I was so nervous because I didn't even know any vegetarians. So she thought it was going to be like a 2-week phase, and I saw a hamburger and ate it, and I just stuck with it for a really long time. So throughout all my years being vegetarian, I swore I would never go vegan. I thought it was super extreme, unnecessary. I was like, killing, milk and eggs doesn't kill animals, and it actually kind of does. But like, it's never really something that occurred to me. So at the end of high school, I gained a lot of weight. I started like working, and I was in like a friend group that like didn't really encourage a lot of healthy habits. So I gained a lot of weight, and after high school, I was like, I need to lose weight. Something's got to change. So at that point, I started going to the gym, and I ate a lot of like whey protein, eggs, and things like that. I didn't really have any problems with it. And I guess like I was like, I really wanted to work with a coach. I was like, I need some guidance. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I did some
I'm
good
just
stuff.
throwing things in a wall and
Yeah.
see if it sticks.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Stairmaster, like leg press machine,
Yeah.
the ones where your legs go
All
in
the
and out.
basics.
You're like, eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I had signed up with I signed up to work with a coach at like a trainer at the commercial gym that I was going to. And they don't really tell you, like, they don't ask you any questions. They just give you to somebody. And they signed me to this trainer, and he was like, he was pretty hot. He was like a bodybuilder. I was like, okay.
I will listen to
the
what you're
motivation.
saying.
I was like, this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. So, he kind of goes through the basics. He's like, I'm going to give you a meal plan. Do you have any restrictions? I was like, yeah, I'm just vegetarian. And he's like, okay, no problem. So this is kind of where things get interesting.
Things get interesting. I'm ready.
So he gave me a meal plan. The first meal plan he gave me was about 1,500 calories. And that was like, okay, you know what? I'm trying to lose fat. Not too bad. But the thing about this meal plan is I had 3 different kinds of meat on it. And I was like, homie, I told you I don't eat this.
Oh my gosh.
You weren't listening.
So many people don't know even what vegetarian or vegan
don't.
is, like on a basic level.
Yeah.
Don't understand.
It's
it.
literally
That's
in the
crazy.
title.
And he's in
Veggies.
the fitness profession. Like,
Yeah.
hello. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I just don't
You
think
can
he was
continue.
listening.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
didn't care.
Yeah, so, well, I feel like I should just, like, say, like, some people really don't know what vegan vegetarian is. So, like, vegetarian means you just don't eat meat. And vegan means you don't eat anything that comes from an animal. So, milk, eggs, honey, like, anything.
I was going to say,
Honey.
yeah, when I, not to go on a huge tangent, I'll make this short. I did vegan briefly, I think 6 months. It's a gnat. For like 6 months, I think like freshman year. And my reasoning was I fell down a hole on YouTube about like animal abuse and all of that. And what I didn't realize even as a vegan at the time about like honey being from bees, like that's something you don't even think of. And I feel like that's something, especially someone that doesn't understand veganism, wouldn't ever cross their mind that like even that is a byproduct.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
didn't know
literally nothing that ever came from an animal.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like I can't have like fun foods like bread. Like people think it's just vegetables. It's not. And
See, and I can't have bread
I know,
because I'm allergic to gluten. Us together, we would not eat anything.
I would. It would be hard to go out to eat with both of you. I feel
Yeah.
like actually no, it really wouldn't because
Well,
just figured it
Erica's
out.
vegan.
yeah, and it's just like we eat healthy anyways, so I
Yeah.
think it would be interesting too.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I couldn't eat gluten for like a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. So it was like vegan and gluten free.
Super, yeah,
But I was
super
really-
limited options then.
Damn.
Really lucky, and it kind of like the issues kind of like went away. But yeah. But anyway, back to what I was saying was that. So he gave me a meal plan with 3 different kinds of meat, and I was like, I told you I can't eat this. Can you give me a new meal plan? So he's like, oh yeah, and he like made a joke, and he's like, you need to eat meat, and I was like, okay, but it was like I still trusted him. I was like, this is the first time I'd ever invested in my own health. Like it's not something I ever done. It's not something I ever saw my parents do. So I was like, of course I trust this person. I'm paying him like $300 a month. So
And that's a lot for most people and for how young you were.
Yeah.
Like I remember when
Yeah.
I was with my first coach, that's about how much it was. And I just wanted to learn so bad because I was trying. And like that was a lot of money for me. Like I was pushing it.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Yes.
I know that I need to do this. So that's super crazy. So what happened? Did he change it?
okay, yeah. So the second meal plan he gave me, it was about 1,300 calories,
Ooh.
and
God.
it was like just a horrible structure. Like it was like 4 protein shakes and like a whole block of tofu for lunch and maybe some like eggs for dinner. I was like, this is
The
really
basic,
whack.
I don't know what protein is besides meat type of meal
I'm
plan.
a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Can't compute.
Literally. So I went back to him. I was like, I can't eat a whole block of tofu for lunch. I mean, now knowing everything I know, I totally could. But I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. So he's like, okay. So he gave me another meal plan. I'm not joking. 1,137 calories.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
So was he just like taking out the things?
I think he was literally
Yeah.
just like crossing it out.
Yep,
Well, fine.
it
You don't want
doesn't
to eat
work.
it. You're not having that at all. I won't replace it with anything. Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. And like this one seemed like the most realistic structure. Like there was like 2 protein shakes. Like, it seemed relatively doable in terms of structure. But I would have never known, like it was just starting, that like just because someone's restrictions change doesn't mean their actual energy intake needs to change.
100%.
It does not.
Because you went from, how much did you weigh back then? If you don't mind me asking, like roughly.
I was probably like when I started my fitness journey, I was probably around 160, 165. And then by this time I was probably around like 150-ish.
Okay, so like just to give you guys an idea, I am sitting at about 150 right now, and my maintenance calories should be around like 2,000 for how I am. So she was sitting at about 160, and she was eating 1,500 calories. And then because he couldn't, figure out how to vegan, figure out how to vegetarian, he put her in even more of a caloric deficit, almost into like a starvation, like
Yeah.
bodybuilder diet, because he didn't know how to create the meal plan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrible. And the thing was, I knew when I started with him, I could only work with him for 2 months because I was moving to California. I went to school for special effects makeup. That was like my background.
That's very cool. What the heck?
What?
Yeah, before I was a coach, I was a hairdresser like Julia.
Yes, that was one of the things that we had such in common.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, no, we just don't
Same
do it
background.
anymore.
Yeah.
But I could only work with him for 2 months. That's the meal plan that I had. And, I did what I could with it. Like, I knew I could have a little bit more vegetables, and I would, like, marinate my tofu, so it was, like, more exciting. But the thing about 1,100 calories is, like, number one, yeah, you're going to lose fat, but you're going to be starving, miserable, or you're going to come out with a lot of other problems, which I did.
Yes.
Yes. So did you feel like when you were at that calorie range that, because at first you were saying it was actually kind of hard for you to eat that amount of calories. So was it hard for you to meet those macros? And then did it get increasingly harder? Because usually what happens is our body starts adapting to the amount of muscle we start putting on, the amount of energy that we're having, and it requires more food. So did that start happening for you?
Well, I think that when I started, it wasn't too bad because I was like, oh yeah, it's just a meal plan. Like I know how to follow this. And I wouldn't have known like the difference between 1,000 calories and 2,000 calories. So for a while, like it was fine. And like, maybe I wasn't like perfect with it, but I followed the structure well. But it got to a point where I was obviously very hungry. And I started binging. And I'd actually had a history of binging in high school because I was in a group of friends who I adored. Like, they were my friends, but they pretty much encouraged me not to eat breakfast. And, like, we'd skip lunch. Like, I'd literally have, like, a roll of Oreos or Ritz crackers for lunch. I don't even know what I was doing. And then, like, I was so hungry when I got home that I would just eat whatever I want. And, like, I guess, like, I wasn't eating in a day and, like, binging wasn't even on my mind, but that was kind of already in my background. Yeah. So when I was, like, intentionally restricting with that many calories, I would do really well during the day, and then I would binge at night, and it didn't even matter.
That's, like, so similar to my story.
Mine too.
I was restrictive in high school because I was a wrestler, and I quote unquote had to be because I needed to be a certain weight class. So I would be the one at lunch who wouldn't eat. I would put water in my mouth, slosh it around, and then spit it out just so I would make my mouth not dry, but I wouldn't actually like put the weight on from like if you have a bottle of water, it's a pound. Like you'll gain a pound from just drinking one bottle of water, but you pee it out later. Like it just... And
Common
then
sense.
after I would compete, I would binge. So when I first got into bodybuilding, that same restrictive pattern that I had done in high school, it came back up again. And I was like, oh, that's been there a long time.
Yeah. Same exact boat for me too. I mean, same thing, started super young with counting calories and being restrictive. And I was overly obsessive with my weight and how I looked. And then, I got into bodybuilding and it was healthy at first. And then of course I slipped back into like old patterns of restrict, binge.
It's crazy because it's always there. Like we have these things that are just in the back of our mind that kind of just like hang out there for a little bit. And we're like, sometimes we don't even think they're a problem because when I realized this was a problem, I was like, wow, I had no idea.
Exactly.
Now it makes complete sense.
I'm like, wow, this is coming up like 10 years later. What the heck?
Cool, bro. Let's just deal with it now, I guess. Right. So how do you feel like that affected you going forward?
Well, okay, so I guess that kind of leads me into like what happened after that, because obviously I stopped working with that coach. He never told me that I would ever have to eat more than that. Even though he gave me like macros that were like 1,500 calories to start. And I had worked with like some other like coaches, trainers, whatever. And I think the next coach after that told me to eat around 1,500 calories and like 130 grams of carbs. And I was like, what? No way I'm going to get fat. Like there's no chance I will eat that much. But I was trying to be chill about it. I was like, you know what? I just like am not hungry. Like I just don't think I want that. And he was like, okay, well, I mean, you don't have to eat if you're not hungry, but like I think that with the training that you're doing, you're going to want it. And I was like, oh, okay, think about it. And I still try to eat 1,100 calories and then binge at night.
Wow.
I was going to say, like, this is someone with an actual, like, healthier viewpoint of it, but you were already taught from the unhealthy viewpoint of you need to restrict that much. And then you become, I feel like we put so much trust in fitness professionals or health professionals or whatever it is, whoever teaches us, and like whatever we learn first is kind of what sticks with us. So the fact that this first guy was like, no, you need to restrict this much, like that's engraved in your brain now. If someone tries to tell you later on, and this took me a long time, which is why I'm like relating to it, I learned later on that food is fuel, but it took years to repattern that like food isn't just a means to get skinny. Like
for me, I think from from birth till I think about 19 or 20, food was just weight on the scale. Like that was literally what it, like if I ate it, like because wrestlers go as far as like eating or even weighing their food to see how much weight it's going to be in their body once they eat it, or like eating something then stepping like that. That's how bad it got for us because no one taught us what to do.
Well, you do that so young too.
Yeah. And I was lucky that I had my first coach that I have was like the same thing. She's like, you can be eating this many calories. Did you know that? And I was like, nope. And I didn't want to because I was scared. I was like, more calories, more carbs equals fat, because that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought I was going to gain weight. I thought that the scale was going to go up, and I thought that I was a bad thing. And I actually lost weight once I started eating more. It was wild.
Yeah.
So now you're with a coach and you're eating more calories, but you're scared too. So what happens after that?
So that was actually my first vegan coach. So
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that was like a weird pivotal. So actually I was like really considering eating meat again, which was completely against everything I believe in my values. Like
Why?
I am really passionate about veganism, and I don't believe that we need to kill anything to thrive in ourselves. And I don't believe in like the suffering of any being. So like human beings or animals. So like that is just kind of like what stuck to me. But I was like, man, if I want to get these results, like, I saw people like bodybuilders and like everybody ate meat. So it's like, if I want to look like that, and I do because I feel like shit right now, then that's what I need to do. Yeah. And I came across this like vegan bodybuilder online, and I was like, I'm just going to go vegan instead. And it was like the most random thing because we swore I'd never do it. So I kind of did it for like health reasons. Like I want to be healthy. Like I feel like this is going to be good. I didn't go vegan for the animals, and I actually didn't even know about any of the vegan for the animals like arguments. I just knew like I was vegetarian for the animals, and I was like, maybe vegan's going to help me be healthier, but I stayed vegan for the animals.
Is that why you were hesitant to ever go vegan? Was it because you viewed it as just like this extreme restriction? You? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, why would anybody ever do that? Like I said, how would I ever know that like, like dairy would. Like,
why would I ever give up cheese?
Like I don't understand. And when I went vegan for health reasons, I learned why people go vegan for the animals, and not just vegetarian. Yeah. So, he was really good, but after a little while, it wasn't like super, it wasn't like a lot of accountability. It was like a program, and it gave me so much good insight for what like actual like meal structure should look like, the actual foods I should be eating, protein sources, like a really solid training plan. Felt really good. But after a while, like I said, there was not much accountability. So I was like, okay, time to move on to something else. I had come across this girl on Instagram, and I just like fell in love with everything she did because she had huge quads. I loved her. I was like, I love this. I need to do it. So she did these fitness challenges, and so I decided to sign up for one, and she would give us macros. And this is like literally what changed my perspective on everything when it came to like calories. And she gave me 1,700 calories when I told her my goal was weight loss. And she gave me 1,700 calories.
And she's like, okay, cool. This is how much you're eating.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really just don't think I'm going to eat that much. Like, it's just too much food. I told you I wanted to lose weight. And this is what she said to me. Literally the words that changed my life. She said, you're going to be surprised how much your body needs it. And I don't know what made me trust that. Like, why? I don't know why. She's like, you're going to be surprised. Like, she was like, why don't you find out that this is going to get you results? I'm not joking. In 2 weeks, I lost weight. My quads started popping. I was like, what the heck is going on?
You're like, whoa, food can like help me instead of just being
wild
a restriction tool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so from that point, I was just like learning how to hit my macros. Like there was kind of a lot behind like how I learned to hit my macros. I was like looking at like non-vegan meal prep and like making it vegan. So like using whatever substitutions I needed, and just like learning to hit my macros and do all this stuff. And there's one other vegan in the challenge group who's actually one of like my best clients now. Her name is Emma. She's actually the one that posted Julia. And I was like, I'm going to follow this girl too.
Full circle moment.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it was a full circle moment. So I like started following her. I started kind of helping her with how to hit her macros and all that stuff. So it like really inspired me to be a coach.
That's awesome.
I love
that stuff.
Timeline wise, how long did it take you between each of the coaches to finding veganism to wanting to be a coach? Like how many years did that take?
So that's tough. So like I said, I started working out right after high school. In high school, I got my hairdressing license, and I was like, I want to be a makeup artist. So I moved to LA, went to a special effects makeup school. So that was like probably like a 2-year timeline.
Yeah.
But I had worked out during that time, and I really loved it. But I just kind of like knew I loved fitness. Like I was really passionate about all of it. So I like started working towards and getting my PT certification. I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with this, but I feel like it'd be good information to have. So that was like 2 years there. And then maybe like a year after that is when COVID happened, and the salon I was working at closed, and I had like 20 weddings booked for the summer. And
were you living in Austin?
I was living in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of my weddings got canceled. all the weddings I got booked canceled. I was so excited. It was like one of my first summers with like, you know, like wedding season was amazing. And then I was like, you know what, I'm not going back. So I like went to the salon with my key in the middle of the pandemic, like grabbed my stuff and left. I think I still left some stuff there.
Peace.
I like talked to my boss, of course, but I was like, this is not aligned for me. And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. And I actually applied to work at a commercial gym, and I had gotten, you know, accepted to work at like one of them. And I just kind of was like, well, you know what, I actually kind of don't want to do that. I want to like help people the way I needed help.
I love that. I mean, that's badass. You like clearly followed like your calling instead of following what you thought you had to do.
Yeah.
That's
And
sick.
you can definitely just always easily stay in the route that you first chose for so many different reasons. Like I chose the same route. Like I chose hair and makeup, and then some people will get into a space where, oh, I chose this, so I have to stay here. I have to follow through. Like we live in a society where like if you don't follow through with things, then it's always bad. And to me, it's like there's a level of following through, and then there's a level of like the like quitting, like just like up, like this is too hard, I'm quitting. But it's like, you know, your heart told you like this isn't where I'm supposed to be. This isn't how I'm going to touch people. Like my mom, for example, is still a hairstylist. She was a hairstylist when I was like she's been a hairstylist since she graduated high school. So like her was like 16, like she got her license at like 16 and she did hair for a long time. Then she stopped, raised us, and now she's doing hair again. And that's how she touches people. And I feel like all of us have a certain thing that we were put here to do, and it might end up changing. Like, how are we going to touch people in this lifetime? And I was just like, I'm not going to be touching people in this way anymore because I'm not passionate about it. And now I can touch more people because I love what I do so much.
I feel like people can sense when you love your job.
100%.
Yes,
100%. Like when you go to the grocery store and they're just like, hi.
Yeah, like they clearly hate it here. But I bet you like at night they do makeup on YouTube or something for fun, and that's where their passion lies. Like whatever that thing is for you, I feel like leaning into it is very important.
Yeah, it's definitely very scary. So how was that jump from being secure, living in Connecticut, doing hair, and then like moving to Austin?
Did you move Austin because you were changing your career path, or you just like wanted to move?
So it's like kind of a long, funny story, but I'll make it short. So basically I, like I said, decided that I didn't want to work in a commercial gym. So I'd hired a business coach so I could do online coaching. And randomly a year ago, last September, my business coach randomly posted on Instagram. He's like, hey, does anybody want to ball out on a penthouse in Columbia in October? And I was like,
This is so random.
ball out?
This is a man that I only knew from the internet.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I mean, out of curiosity, you know, what is that, you know, how much, what does that look like? And I was like, you know, for a month I could do that. I was so comfortable. And like I said, I'd already quit the job. I was nannying and I was doing hair on the side through COVID because like nobody could get a haircut. So it was like secret. So I like, you know, I was just in this loop. I was in a relationship and I just like my life wasn't going the way that I wanted to go. Like it wasn't spiraling up. And even though I was working really hard, I was like, you know what, I need to take this leap right now. So I moved to Columbia with 3 men I met on the internet.
This sounds
You're
like
so brave.
This sounds like New Girl.
It does.
Please tell me you watch New Girl.
I did.
Just like at Craig moves in with 3 Craigslist guys, and they end up like
changing your life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like kind of when I went all in on my business, quit my other jobs. Like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing now, living in Columbia. And it was such an experience. In that time, I had actually broken up with my boyfriend, which was really hard on me. But I knew that it was for the best. Like, our paths were just not aligned. And it was, you know, we ended up staying there for 2 months. Me and my roommate did get robbed at gunpoint, which was less fun.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, what?
You can't just like sprinkle that in
She's
there.
like, and we're just gonna go right over that. Okay, what?
It was just really dumb. You know, we were walking home from the gym because we lived we lived in a portion of Medellin that was like the richer part. And we were really close to the mall, which is where our gym was. So the gym was in the mall. But we were walking back up, and we did it pretty often. And I think they like knew.
They knew your routine.
3 guys like pulled up on motorcycles with guns, took all our stuff.
On motorcycles?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I watched too much
like
true
out of
crime.
a movie. Yeah,
I
what?
watch too much
Yeah.
true crime now. Dude, that's a crazy story. I love how you just like blew past that. You're like, yeah, I got robbed. And anyways, so wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So after that, we stayed there another month after that, even though I kind of had some trauma. But I went back to Connecticut for a couple weeks, and then those roommates reached back out to me. They're like, "Hey, do you want to keep traveling?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. Let's just do whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to Austin, Texas." And I was like, "That sounds very cool. I've heard good things about that place. Juliarene lives there."
Wait, really?
I mean, I knew that you were here. I know
That's crazy. I thought that you lived here and knew who I was because you lived here.
I totally
already.
Knew. No, I totally knew who you
Yeah,
were.
she was getting robbed in Colombia and knew who you were.
I already knew who you were.
Tear.
That's crazy.
That's super cool.
Well, I actually remember. I don't remember what event it was. I don't know, some like bodybuilding event, and I think my current coach, took a picture with you, and I was like, "Oh my God, Linda took a picture with Juliarene."
That's
so
crazy.
cool.
I know, it's
I
crazy.
want to know who it is. Linda? Did you say Linda?
Yeah, her name was Linda.
Linda. What's up, Linda?
Yeah, but anyway, and so I ended up in Austin. I actually had just started working with Liv, like coincidentally. So yeah, we like stuck here and we lived in Airbnbs for 2 months in Austin, and we loved it so much because it's very cool here. The vegan food is like insane. Any vegans who are listening to this, like literally the best vegan food I've ever had in the city. And we loved it so much, so we got a lease and just stayed.
That's so sick.
like so wild. I'm over here like having a panic attack over just like how not planned any of that is. I'm like, I just can't. She's like, yeah. So like we're like, hey, you want to travel? And you're just like, yeah, let's just
Sure.
go to Austin. I'm like, wait,
Unheard of.
people do this?
Julia would need every step of the way exactly
I'd be
what
like,
they're
whoa,
doing
whoa.
every day, where they're at.
Where's our itinerary?
Yeah.
Like I can't. I'm getting better.
No, you are. I'm joking. You
I
are.
will say, like, my life was very, like, it was just on a cycle. Everything was the same. Everything was the same. Doing, like, I was super comfortable. And I, like, when I had this opportunity to go to Colombia, I was like, okay, I better jump right now because I might fucking get stuck in this for the rest of my life. Before I traveled, I'd asked my mom, I was like, oh, did you ever travel? And she was like, no, I went to college and then I was broke then I was a teacher and I was broke then I got married and we had kids and
then we were broke
and then we're here.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And like
Circle.
when we did have the money to travel, we were just like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And I was like, wow, I don't want that. So I was like, let's get out. Let's just go do it. And I can't say like my family loved that I was going to Colombia with 3 men I met on the internet, but But I was
But
an
you're here
adult. It's a
today.
choice I had to make,
still
and
alive.
I'm still alive.
No, that's so cool though.
Wow, that's
That makes me want to travel.
I know. I'm like, okay, I've lived in Texas my whole life and haven't gone anywhere. I don't have a passport. I need to do these. I need to do these things.
Yeah,
But I love
we
that,
both
like,
do.
there was this moment. I feel like we all have this moment where we can make a choice, and our life is just not going the way that we thought it was going to go. And usually, it's like a feeling more so of like the exact direction that you're going. And I feel like during that time, you're just like, I just feel like something's not right. I don't know exactly what it is I'm going to do. I don't have a plan. I don't have an itinerary, but I know that I'm not supposed to be doing this thing. And you just went for it.
Yeah.
So
It's inspiring.
yeah, like
Thank you.
I love that. Like talk about that a little bit more and like that moment where you were just making that decision. Like, was it hard? Because I feel like this is a really hard decision for some people, and it seems like it was relatively easy for you to just be like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm fed up.
I mean, it was so easy and so hard at the same time. At the time I was nannying actually for my ex-boyfriend's niece. So it was like a family affair. And I literally had 2 weeks to tell everybody that I know that I was moving to Colombia and quitting my job. And that caused a lot of issues. And like, I know it's really personal. And I was horrified. I was like, this family's going to hate me. I had literally zero intentions of breaking up with my boyfriend. I loved him very much. But I was like, I just feel like I need to do this. Like, it was just like a knowing that I was like, I need to get out. I need to go do this. I don't know what it means for me. And everything played out, exactly the way it should have.
So this all happened, like these realizations, it all happened in like the span of 2 weeks,
Yep.
which you were like, I have a feeling that this was just building up for such a long time. And then once it like happened, you were like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. Like when you said that, it reminds me so much of the time where I was with the partner that I was with before Zach. And we were like literally on the track. Like my parents were like, go ahead, you can marry him. Like they gave me that kind of go ahead. I was working in a salon and I had that same moment where I was like, yeah, I went to my parents and I get that fed up with things. And that's a downfall of my personality, is that like I let things build up too much to where like I just explode. And so I let it build up for so long. And I was like, hey, Mom, I'm quitting my job at the salon and I'm breaking up with Mark and I'm going to become a bodybuilder. Okay?
And to them, it's out of nowhere, but to you, it's been like manifesting for so long.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing to like convey, especially to parents or to people that care about you. It's like, I don't know, like sometimes I don't know what it is. You're just, I just feel, and it's just that intuition that's pulling you somewhere else. And I just think that's really cool. That always inspires me when other people are just like, fuck it. Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to do me. And you are, I think, thriving, like honestly. And I don't want you to ever move Austin. I don't want you to move from Austin, but if you do, I know it.
Honestly, I love it here. I don't even think I ever want to leave. It's so good.
We've made so many like friends, especially from the retreat that we went to.
Oh my God, I know. That was like the one. I honestly was thinking about going back to Connecticut, but after that retreat, I was like, oh my God, I made real friends and I love it here so much more now. Like it just made it, friends just make everything so much more livable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I mean, this wasn't something that I was really going to talk about, because one thing about this retreat is that we can't actually tell you what the retreat entails.
I haven't been, and I plan on going.
So we can't really go into like exactly like what happens. And for me, I hated that. Because I'm a planner. I like to know what's coming. And it was really awesome for me to not know what was coming, because I got to have real genuine reactions to it. So without, I guess, giving away anything, what can you take from that experience? And what do you think has shifted for you the most coming out of it?
Honestly, I think it's just like complete and utter trust in everything that happens, everything that's going to happen. And like, just like peace with it, just because, and I'm so down for that. And that doesn't mean like you're never going to struggle. It doesn't mean you're not going to like have feelings where you're feeling unsure or scared. But if you choose to look at something with love rather than with fear, you're going to have a better outcome. And if you look at the rest of your life like that, whatever, like I said, I'm running a business. Sometimes that's really hard. I'm sure, and no matter what happens, like everything is going to happen, not only the way it's going to happen, but the way you want it to. If you truly believe that's how it's going to happen, you just manifest it and everything's going to be okay.
Exactly. Even if like things just happen, like, and they seem like they're wrong in the moment, it seems like it's not the way that it's supposed to be. When we look at it from a year forward, 2 years forward, like, okay, that had to happen. It had to happen. So why not just like be okay with, even if it happens, like whatever happens is shit and it feels shitty, there is some reason that this is happening. Maybe that you missed this opportunity, but there's another one that's around the corner that's actually more aligned, and then that's even better. Maybe this relationship didn't work out because that partner was actually going to cheat on you in the future, and your real partner was right around the corner. Like all of these things happen, and we see this in our day-to-day life, and we have so little trust in the universe and what God has planned for us that we like sit there and just like dwell over it. I do that all the time. Like I literally, one of the bad qualities that I have is just like overthinking about what's going to happen and what's going to be there, who's going to be there, what's it going to be like. And doing the retreat like really got me out of that.
I really need to go.
Yeah. Oh my God, you need to go.
Because I'm already a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. Like that is really at the core of my belief system, but it's so easy to still overthink and have anxiety and dwell on the past or dwell on the future. And I'm still trying to break that. So that's awesome.
And I think that's the thing, and like what you were saying is that like we're not going to be completely free of all of these emotions and these things. It's just like, how can we better deal with them when they do happen? Like for me, when I used to go into like kind of like a little depressive spell, I used to call it, when I was coaching with Liv, I go into my hole and I like legit, like I go into a hole and I lay in bed and I don't get out.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I do something better. Like, you know, I'll go, maybe I just won't go to the gym that day.
Yeah.
I'll still do my job and I'll still work and show up, but I just don't go to the gym instead of literally going to a hole where I'm in the bed curled up in the fetal position.
It's like to a lesser degree now.
That's growth.
Yeah.
I'm still feeling the feels, but it's growth.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, you know, that's definitely something that Liv taught me too. It's like almost to like look forward to the times where you feel shitty, because it's like however equally shitty, it's going to be equally as good in the end.
Yeah.
Very true.
She said that to me too, and I was like, shut up.
I know, that's exactly like every time Liv would say it, I was like, you know what, I don't even care. I'm really sad right now. And then it all works out.
Let me be sad.
I think just a reminder for the listeners, it would be 2 episodes by the time this one comes out. Liv was on the podcast, and I was actually re-listening to it on our way to film this podcast. And like everything she says is just like, I don't know. That whole day after filming, I like reevaluated everything I did. I was like, how would Liv view this?
You're just driving, you're like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with my
No,
life?
I'm so serious. I called my mom and I was like, she made me realize a lot about myself, like that I'm still dealing with. It was such a therapy session.
Yeah, I'm glad that you like re-brought that up. But Liv was a guest on our podcast, and I coached with Liv for 2 years, and Katie coached with Liv. Did you do like the 4 months?
4 months.
For 4 months. So it's just like, it's wild how all of this has just kind of come to fruition. And then Katie and I went to the retreat together. Liv helps run the retreat with my boyfriend Zach. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
And I actually found Liv through the Fit Couple podcast. Like that's how I was
sick.
like, it was like my Hail Mary. I had a really rough time after getting robbed, and I was like, please help me.
I gotten robbed. I need some inspo.
She really
there's
is
a
like
lot.
the best.
Yeah, she's so good.
I had a question, not to backtrack too much, but like understanding your timeline. Were you already starting your coaching business before you made the move to Colombia, or was that like, okay, so you had that, but you were doing the other side jobs too?
Yeah, I liked the nannying job at the time, because if the kids were like napping or doing whatever, it allowed me to like do my job online, because, you know, I started with some clients and that was like something I could build on. So I started, I launched in June of last year.
Got it.
And then I moved to Colombia in October.
Got it.
That's so cool. So I really want to know a little bit about your coaching style and like your clients and how you transition people from, I guess, not being vegan to being vegan, or they are vegan and they just feel so restrictive. Because when I see the way that you eat, I'm like, I could do that. Like, you give me inspiration that I could do that. But I was always stuck in the mindset, bro, I can never do that. Like, I can never. But I see you and the way that you do it, you're like, this is just my life. So how does that transfer into how you coach people?
Yeah, so I work with people who are either already vegan or transitioning. I work with some like vegetarians too, so anybody like towards the plant-based lifestyle. And a lot of the issues people find is that there's a really wide variety. So either they're not eating enough, they're not eating enough protein, which is usually the biggest thing, and that's why they're not getting the results that they want. They're scared to eat. So it's like a lot of the problems that I dealt with for years, and it's, you know, little things come up in like every person. So when it comes, and this is something that like I feel like I definitely need to talk about, and it's that the actual like energy intake, like how you go about training, like all those things are the exact same as literally any other person in the fitness industry, or like, you know, working on their fitness journeys. Like, it's not any different except for the actual foods that you consume. So bless you.
And I think that's huge that you're saying that, because I think I've done it too, where you think that, okay, I'm going to be put into this category. Like, I always talk about this. Like, people think that they have to be put into categories whenever they start their fitness journey. I have to be a pescatarian. I have to either be a macros. I have to be keto. Like, we all think we have to be put into these categories. And we also think that, like, the rules change once we're in one of these categories. Like, the same thing goes for, like, even if you're keto, like, the same thing goes as far as, like, calories in, calories out. The macro difference changes. It's literally like 75% fat, like 5% carbs and 10% protein, I think. So like the rules still apply. I think things just like macros just change. Like with vegan, you have to be more creative with getting your protein in.
Right. So like macros, like our macros would like be the same whether I was eating meat or not. So like I'm still eating 160 grams of protein a day, but it's just like not from any animal sources. So that's kind of like really the spot where people have troubles. Like it's the same kind of thing, but it's like really learning how to adjust to that, because one of the big differences, I mean, there's a couple, but it's like, so for example, if I go out to eat to a restaurant, chances are, I mean, in Austin, it's a little bit different, but if I go out to a restaurant, like chances are like what I'm going to eat is probably like pasta or maybe like a salad or whatever. And it's not going to have any protein. But if a non-vegan person goes to a restaurant and they are, you know, working towards a certain goal and they have, you know, their goals for what their food is going to be, you know, you could go to a restaurant and easily get chicken and rice.
True.
I cannot do that. Like, I can't just be like, hey, can you give me a half a block of tofu and some rice and some
You're
broccoli?
like, what?
I'm like, I don't even know what tofu is. So for me, it was like finding, a lot of that was like, some of it is like finding the adjustment. So it's like, maybe when I go out to eat and I know that I'm going to have like a carb heavy meal or a fat heavy meal, I need to have either like a protein shake before I leave, or like sometimes I low-key put like a little tofu in my purse, and
I've seen you do that. It's
That's
adorable.
and I just like put it on my plate, or like if I go to a
Just
diner,
like slaps it on her plate.
I'll like bring like
Where's that block of cheese come from?
literally, or like I'll bring like my little vegan breakfast sausages if I go over to like a diner.
Yeah, and like literally, like that's how committed she is to doing the thing. Like I had to do the same thing when I was with bodybuilding.
Exactly.
And I would literally just be like out to dinner because it was a birthday, and I'd be like, let me just slide my meal out.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's really, really cool. And you have to think about, it seems like you just have to try a little bit harder. Like
Yeah.
you just have to think a little bit more ahead of time and really just go out of the box, especially with getting enough protein in. Because for me, I'm like, oh my God, how would I get protein in? But there's so many different options that you can do.
Right, exactly. And there's so many meat replacements, and like you don't even have to use those if you don't want to, like tofu, tempeh, seitan are all like not like faux meats that you'd buy in the store, which I do really like faux meats. But you know, there are so many options. So, I really teach my clients like how to utilize those kinds of things, how to stay on track when you go out to eat. Like make sure you maybe have a protein shake before, bring your protein with you. Like if you go to a family dinner, like bring your meal, because sometimes people aren't accommodating. Like I know with like my ex-boyfriend's family, they were less than accommodating and put butter on all the vegetables. So it's like I'd always bring my food no matter what.
Oh wow.
So it's like it worked out because, you know, it's like I was staying on track because I was bringing my own food, but also bringing my own food because that was like the lifestyle that I was following.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's difficult for, I guess, people around you to like accept that this is what your life choice would be?
So, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I do. I support you 100% because
yeah.
I just know that people don't support me doing bodybuilding.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I can imagine that it's probably similar.
People love to like question what people do
Anything
with their
we
lives
do.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You get a cat, they're like, why'd you get a cat? You should have
Yeah.
got a dog.
You're like, because I wanted one.
Right.
Why
What
are
are the
you
cat?
vegan? Because these are my beliefs. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing about veganism is that it's a really controversial topic. And it's really unfortunate. And like, sometimes it's even hard for me to talk about because I'm not like, I'm saying quotes, like a judgy vegan. Like I get
Vegans
that.
are savage. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some.
I've met some.
And yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't believe in eating. I don't think eating meat is like okay, but I don't judge other people for doing it. And people are like, well, how do you think it's not okay, but you're not judging them? And I was like, well, I can't control what other people do. I can only inspire things that I do.
Yeah.
So people will automatically like think that I'm judging them and be really weird if we're sitting at a dinner table. They're like, oh, is it okay that I'm eating chicken right now? And I was like,
I'm not allergic to it.
I was like, as long as you're not putting it in my mouth, like I don't really care.
That's how it feels on prep, being
100%.
like around your family and they're like, can I eat this chocolate around you? And I'm like, I don't care.
I don't care.
I'm like,
I was
you
like,
do
don't
you.
force feed me and we're good.
I'm not sitting there judging you for eating
Yeah,
chocolate. I'm
yeah.
jealous. But yeah, and it's like that's so crazy.
Yeah, so it's like such like there is a lot of judgment around like the topic of veganism, so that's what can make it kind of hard. But you know, I always try to be like kind and gentle, unless someone is like not kind and gentle to me, then I have to throw down. But
One thing about Katie, and we learned this in the retreat that we went to, like she's literally like the softest little baby. Like she reminds me of just like a bubble, like floating, like a bubble floating in the wind. But like, don't fuck with her at the same time.
like I just don't like mean people, and like
Yeah.
I don't like mean vegans. Like and to be honest, like, you know, some vegans will be like, oh, you're vegetarian, like what's the point? And I'm just like, if someone just can chooses to consume just a little bit less, like I'm happy. You know what I mean? Like you can't choose what other people do. So like it can be hard, but you're exactly right. It's so similar to bodybuilding. And like, especially when I'm in like a more intense like phase of my training and like being more strict, like it literally doesn't change for me. But like, I know if you're on prep, it changes a lot for you. So for me, it's like pretty constant.
That's so true. That is so true. Because for me, it's like half of the year, I'm like bringing my meals places. I'm like strict. No, I can't have this. My family members are like, what kind of phase are you in? Like, can you eat this? Can you not? Like for 6 months, I'm usually like that. Yeah. And for the other 6 months, it's just,
you can be quote unquote normal.
I'm just normal. Yeah. Like I don't have to bring my meals, but you have to do that all the time, which is super admirable. And like, you've done it and it's kind of just a part of your life and you're like, just do this thing. And it's
honestly, I feel like it becomes easier the longer you do it. Absolutely. Because like for me with finding out that like I was extreme gluten intolerance, like in the beginning it was really challenging. And now I feel like I know my own restrictions. Similar to you, I just plan ahead. So like if we're going out to eat somewhere, if I like have a date or my family's going somewhere or whatever it is, I'll just look up the place beforehand, make sure I have options. If I don't, I will throw out like, hey, do you mind if we do this instead? Yes. But I feel like, as long as it's like engraved in your brain that this is the only choice, like you will make it work.
I love that.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It definitely was always hard at first, and people are always like, oh, you're vegetarian before, so it must have been so easy. But the truth is, stopping eating meat is not hard. Mm-hmm. Stopping everything else. So it's like, you can't have pizza, you can't have cake, you can't have like, random like things that you'd usually have. Like everything has like less than 1% milk powder or some stupid shit.
Wow. No, I know. That's how I feel about gluten too.
Yes,
I'm like, you find out that random pill capsules have gluten in the encasing, and you're like, why?
Yes.
Like it's so, but even you mentioning before, like your ex's family cooking with butter, like that's something that like as a non-vegan, I wouldn't even think of. Like you have to then like rule out any restaurant that uses butter in their kitchen.
It's true. Yeah. I'm over here just like, cooking your vegetables in butter, that just defeats the purpose of eating vegetables.
I mean, like, I feel like we don't cook with butter anyway, but it's not something I would ever think of when I eat out. Like, I do know sometimes butter could be in my meal, and I like, that just made me think of, wow. Like,
you're right. I think about oil being cooked like in my meal, because that's what's hard is like there's sometimes when you're on prep and like you have to like you can't just like miss your mom's birthday. You can't just be like, hey, can we cook at home? Or like it's not about you, so you have to go to places and be like, okay, can I get chicken not cooked in oil, this and that, and it gets challenging. But I think it's really admirable that you are sticking to your guns and that you're like, this is the life that I want to live, and you're inspiring other people to do it as well. And like when I'm around you, like it makes me think that I could be vegan. Instead of being like, oh, like she's judging me.
Make
like
it less scary.
I don't feel that way at all. So I'm happy that that's the way that you're approaching this lifestyle. And I do have a question just to kind of like wrap some things up. But what is one thing that you would want to change within the vegan community? Or say to people about veganism that they might not know?
I guess honestly, it's really not hard at all. There's so many options, like, and I would say it's probably even more difficult for it like would be more difficult for anybody that's like in like the fitness space, because like protein like is more abundant in like animal foods but not unavailable. But for someone who's maybe like not in that space, like
it's probably relatively easy.
It is extremely easy, and it really, really is. And like I said, Austin, it's like if you want to be vegan, move here. But even anywhere, it's really not that bad. Like go to the grocery store and like ask where the plant-based foods are. There, it's always like near the vegetables in the frozen section or in the produce section, and there are so many options. And I'm really lucky to live in a world where now, like even not in Austin, I go to a restaurant and get a Beyond Burger or
one of the best burgers I've actually ever had was a Beyond Burger.
They're so good.
Oh my God. And I would like go back for that burger, and I wasn't even vegan. It was incredible. And I just don't think that there's any excuse anymore. If like it's something that you feel like is on your heart, like now there's so many resources.
It's so much more accessible now than it was like 10 years ago.
And that's like one of the big reasons like I love being a coach, is because like it's not just about like, okay, I'm going to help you get fit and be vegan and all this stuff, but it's like I want to teach you that you can have the body that you want, and you don't have to consume animal products if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So that was like my biggest thing, is like if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, and I'll teach you.
What's your advice, or like, how did you personally handle any backlash from the people around you being like, well, why would you do that? Or like almost hating on you for choosing this lifestyle?
You know, to be honest, and I was always just like, I love animals. I was like, this is what I love. And like, I don't, you know, like you can be mad at me, but if you're really going to judge me for having a love for like a living being and choosing not to consume it, then I just literally don't have anything to say, because I just don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I'm not judging you. I'm not being mean. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm just like, this is what I'm choosing, and I'm choosing love. And I, you know, it's not to be, you know, an asshole and be like, oh, I'm always choosing love. But it's like, that's the genuine background for why I do what I do and everything.
Yeah. For me, it's like, how can you be upset with me if what I'm doing isn't harming you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed.
Like,
but still, there's people out there that do it.
Yeah.
Like, is me being vegan hurting you? No. Okay. Then fuck them up.
Right. It's like, it hurts everybody else's ego. They're like, well, I know there's, you know, maybe something a little wrong with this, but I'm not going to choose to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's where the judgment comes from.
Exactly. Because like, I even feel it, because when you're sitting here saying, I love animals, like my ego is immediately hit, and I'm like, well, shit, I love animals too. Well, shit, then like, why am I not vegan? And if I like was listening to my ego, I'd be like, well, that's stupid that you do that, because it's just not realistic. And because my ego is getting hurt because it's a mirror.
I was about to say, it's like how Liv said, like we're then like being shown our own guilt.
Exactly. But I hear you say that, and I'm like, that's amazing. I'm like, that's something to think about. I really love that. Yay. Now, the question that I love to kind of close everything off. When was the moment that you felt, or you knew, I like the word knew, that you were as powerful as you are?
I'm going to be really honest. When I was working with Liv, I was going through a really rough time. And it was like last December, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting emotional.
When she asked me this, I cried, if that makes you feel better.
I was like in this space where I was so depressed. Like I said, I just got robbed. I broke up with my boyfriend. I was like in, you know, a difficult relationship, and, you know, everything in my life was changing. And I was like, fuck, I have no power. And like, I was so upset and stuck, and I was in bed for weeks, and I got COVID, and it just never ended. And I started working with Liv, and a lot of it was like, she would just tell me like, you know, you choose this. Like, you can choose joy, or you can choose suffering. And it's your choice. It doesn't, like, nothing else matters. Like, you can choose to suffer right now, or you can choose joy. And the second she told me that, I was like, Liv, that's not fucking fair. I was like, I don't like that. But then I was like, you know what? No, I am going to choose joy. And you can, and this is exactly it. You can choose everything that happens to you. Like, you know, we talk about like having an itinerary and like just like randomly choosing to go live somewhere and meeting people on the internet and all this stuff. But it's like everything that I did was a choice. And even though some of those choices did not come with outcomes that I wanted or expected or felt great about, but it brought me where I was. And it's like, even when there was a bad situation, I could always choose joy. I could always choose to be happy and like choose love over fear.
That's such a good answer.
That's a mic drop right here. That's a perfect way to end the episode. Really literally just, and I think that's perfect, because people don't think they have a choice. And I think when you're so deep in it, we've all been there. We really just like, I don't have a choice this is how I have to feel. Circumstances have made me this way, but literally like, just choose joy, choose love.
I feel like even knowing that, I still find myself in situations where I'm like, wow, I'm not choosing to choose joy right now.
I had to choose joy yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm going to force it upon myself today.
I'm not joyful every day. I'm really like, I feel like a piece of shit. Okay, I'm just going to choose joy. Even if I'm like, I'm going to choose joy.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
Right.
You're crying. Choose joy. I love that so much. Well, thank you, Katie, for coming on here.
This was such a good episode.
I always is so incredible. You always have so much insight for people. And guys, I am going to put Katie's information all down below, her Instagram, how you can get coaching with her. I'll also put Liv's stuff and the Journey to Nobody under there as well, since we talked about it a lot. But please connect with Katie. And if you're curious about being a vegan, or it's something that's been on your mind, I think you found the lady for you. So we love you all so much, and you are more powerful than you think.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Know Your Power podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you believe we deserve it, make sure to leave a review and rate the show. Love you. Bye.